Luckily, we had someone hired already,
No kidding. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. Like,
I, I don't know, man. I've had a lot of different things, but that's wild.
I mean,
Not even a call, nothing. Just gone.
the signs were all over it, no car,
Yeah,
smoke breaks,
yeah,
Plus, I think this is something all of you need to think about where like I get it, you hire somebody, you're not going to slap Invisalign on them to straighten out their teeth right away. They got to earn it, but you know, perception's reality. It's like being a plastic surgery practice and having people with zits walking all around the place. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it just doesn't work. But you see so many assistants like her. I mean, I feel bad for her, but Jesus Christ. I mean, we almost should have known this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh,
Look at these fresh new faces on here. Goodness, I love it.
yeah. So glad I don't have to see these same ugly faces all the time. We get some fresh new ones on here. God.
Love it. Good to meet you by video anyway, Cody, AJ.
Cool. Nice to be seen. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you
Hey,
guys.
fellas.
Good to see you, Regina.
Nice to meet you guys
Hey
as well.
there.
Thomas, according to your screen today.
Yeah, I left my laptop in Chicago. So I've been laptop free for over a week.
Hey, that's a blessing.
In a way, yeah.
Did you leave it there on accident?
No, it really was an accident, but we're going back there this weekend, so I'll pick it up when I'm there.
How's it going? Is it practice going okay? Traffic good?
Well, we had an initial surge of new patients and now it's kind of flattened out a little bit as kind of expected, but we're in the pardon the expression, the butt clench time right now. Because the novelty is worn off for people a little bit.
So you've expanded to Chicago.
Pardon?
Well,
No?
they got Invisalign starting. They got her husband Tom got the first Invisalign practice.
Oh,
so
I
she's
see.
been
Gotcha.
commuting to help him out from Minnesota.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's all
That makes
all
sense.
Invisalign branded, everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she's liked by Invisalign. We're all in trying to figure out why they like her so much. We just can't put our finger. No, but it's gonna go great. Right, chat treating you good? Has that process been fine?
The last time I checked in, it was going live, but I haven't had any updates since it should be live now by a couple days or so.
Yeah. Yeah, they had mentioned that it went live. So
I'm
separate
sure
note,
I'll get an update Friday, when I'm there all
yeah.
day.
Well, if you don't, I'll have one next Tuesday because that's when some of the new customers, they have to give me some updates on them on our team meeting. But
Okay.
so Chad Cassidy is another new face. He can't make it tonight. He's on the road. And then we've got several new contracts signed and one's out. It's been kind of a weird year. But certainly finishing the year strong. For sure. Hey, how was Eric Howard and Matt? How was Orthopreneurs? I don't even know if I've asked either one of you that yet.
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, we exercised the drink package well.
And the silent disco.
Yeah.
And the silent disco, yeah. No, it was pretty good. That meeting has a predictable group of speakers that we've all heard a few times now.
Yeah.
So it was more of a staff reward trip than anything else for me. But it was all good. It came back with some really good renewed mojo. So that's all good.
That's good. Matt, you feel the same way? It was just you didn't bring any of the team, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had a totally separate agenda to get some time away and to get a lot of stuff done. And think high level, and it was a success from all that standpoint. I was part of Team Howard. Graciously accepted me for dinners and things like that. No, it was good though. There were some really good speakers. One guy on security, like cybersecurity stuff, was particularly great.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
Yeah.
right. I think you did tell me that cybersecurity thing. That reminds me of. I think you did tell me that. You two look cute in that picture that you took together.
I was going to continue the joke and say, yeah, continually applying Eric's sunscreen was not fun, but
Yeah, I think that burned an image in Eric's mind. He
Oh, that
can't
was not
forget.
good.
Yeah,
That
it
was
did.
not good. I had just shaken it until he brought it back up.
I was going to
So,
keep it going.
When we had our first Iconic this past January, Eric and Matt went and did. You guys went and did. It was an incline, right?
Yeah.
Manitou Incline, yeah.
They leave me at the house cooking for them. Of course, they go do the incline, and Eric's phone froze at the top. So I was like, "Hey, when you guys are heading back, let us know." And they couldn't. His phone froze. They had no way of communicating. But no, we've got. Looks like Blair can't. I don't think Blair can make it tonight, but it looks like he's on with his AI taking notes.
Good thing
That's
we
cool.
had a virtual assistant to keep us all in line.
Yeah, it says AI. Make sure we don't say anything bad about them. But no, we should be getting a lot of new faces. I put out, I don't know how many of you saw it, but I put out the topic of this mutualism and cognitive training, and I've kind of got nothing really planned. I'm going to kind of explain really what it is, and so hopefully we can do a little bit of a reset. Many years ago, I've had 22 companies now. And they haven't all been successful, but thankfully for many years now they have. And I used to think I was really crazy because I used to always just be obsessed with this repetition and making sure make believe name Betty was doing the same things and practicing over and over and over again. And no matter how many times they did it, I would make them do it again and again and again and again, no matter how many times they complained. And I saw it work, and I started wondering if I was a nut job, and I started reading a lot. And over the years, it's just a topic that I've really become obsessed with, and it's one of the reasons New Patient Group was started. But it was also one of the reasons that Iconic, was envisioned, and then this mastermind years ago was envisioned. And the idea of mutualism, if you take John White Study Club, and for those of you who know John, he's one of the biggest characters you'll ever meet. I'll never forget coming off this was AAO years ago, and this was the only time my wife ever met him, but we were heading to the elevator, and it opens up, and John White comes off with his shirt. He had like 8 buttons down. He was like this, and he had like 9 gold chains just hanging around his neck. And I'm like, "Hey, John, what's up, man?" We talk for a minute. We get in the elevator. Kristen's like, "Who's that?" And I had explained, but his Pioneer Study Club has really taken off. There's a lot of names in there, and they really have a lion's ear. And Bob Skopak and I, when I went in to see Rob Schaefer last month or whenever it was, when I landed at O'Hare, Bob came and met me, and we ate a dinner and stayed there for 3 hours before I made the drive. And Bob's telling me more about this Pioneer stuff, and then Isabel from Invisalign, who I work a lot with, runs education, is telling me a lot about them. And they have such power, and they're getting really good deals with their lab bills, and they really have a lion's ear right now. And same with Glenn Krieger's group. And really it shows just the power of groups. And that's what this mutuality is, you go to work out yourself. You may do well. I know I do well working out, but I also know that I would do way better if I met 5 people at the gym 2 or 3 times a week, right? You would take it to a whole nother level. And when you work out in groups and you learn in groups, you become much better. And that's clinically, obviously, and also on the non-clinical side. And that's why the word group is in New Patient Group. Like that in itself is exactly why that word exists in there, is making sure that, not only are we coming to your practice and we're having these private Zoom sessions, but these boot camps and all of these other ways where we're bringing people together to learn an environment where they're all trying to, accomplish the same thing, take great care of the customer, the patient. It's better done in groups. And it's the same way with this group. You all are going, some of you are kicking ass, others are having not the best year ever. But regardless of what it is, if you commit to asking each other questions and commit to coming on here in our doctor spouse event, and we commit to keep getting bigger and bigger as a group, I know that I can go to align with my relationship with them, and same certainly for Regina, and start seeing if we can't get lower lab bills and see if we can't gain some leverage. And so one of my goals is to try to help us get a name out there like the Pioneer Group, like Glenn's group, to where we can have some purchasing power, if you will, to go and really create some amazing discounts for all of you. And I think that's nothing but a positive thing, but there's certainly there's certainly a commitment that we all need to make, is if you have and this isn't what this is about. I'll kind of circle back to something else in a minute, but if you've got clinical questions, or you want to attack something that you haven't attacked before with aligners, digital braces, whatever the hell it is, you have such an amazing group of minds in this group to learn from. And I think it's somewhat just a habit of having Slack open every day and just getting in and out of it. But just making sure that we're building this group and building the power of the minds. And the other piece is, and that's the same way, a lot of you may not even know this, but we have a leadership Slack channel open now for all your team members. And I don't know if we've done a great job, promoting that to all the customers, but it's something that's there, and we're in it. And there's not a lot of activity in there, but the idea for your team members, the same way for all of you, is like this TC Iconic that we're having next week, that we had a great turnout. I think, what is there, Eric, 28 total people coming, 2 doctors, 26 treatment coordinators. And
yeah, I think it's 26 and 2, and then 3 of us.
And then 3 of us. We've got Align is shipping us some iTero machines, so those are coming to my house Monday. It's going to be an awesome event, and just like this past January, there isn't another event like it. It will get a name, and it's going to happen, I think, fast. And Align's already expressed interest in sponsoring it and blah blah blah. But these Iconic events, it's the same way as these boot camps. It's the same way as this leadership Slack channel, is getting your team members, as involved with other team members as possible, so they can learn from each other and be a part of these groups. And the cognitive training piece of this is there's real 2 main. There's a lot of spatial training is a psychology concept that we'll talk about later, but this cognitive training, the 2 main concepts that have always intrigued me are repetition and diverse environments. And the repetition is kind of obvious. You've become great on the phones, as an example. Well, guess what? You're going to role play it another 1,000 times, right? That's just part of the culture and the repetition. But I think the key piece that goes missing a lot of times in the cognitive training concept is diverse environments of training. So we come to your practice, yes, but you may have a weekly meeting next week. And if you have a park close by, the idea is, get the hell out of your environment and go sit in the park together and go over the same things that you would otherwise go in over at your practice, right? If you're going to do role plays on something, get them the heck out of your office and go to the park, go to a restaurant, have lunch together, and spend the last 15 minutes, practicing something. It's creating all these different learning environments. And the studies are interesting, is that the older you get, the more important those become. So, and I think the studies show, like, from 55 and on, the diverse training environments become more and more critical to learning and being open to change. And I saw it, with Iconic, is some of the team members in January that were there sometimes aren't the most open-minded people when we're inside the practice, but they were great at Iconic. And a lot of times the diverse environment just getting them away and learning in a different environment, even though it's the same thing, they're able to grasp it better. And just like I said, the older you get, the more important that diversity of environment becomes. So, you take all these, the on-demand courses, the boot camp sessions, the Zoom sessions, the doctor and spouse event every year, the Iconic event. The idea is, we're trying to get as many possible diverse learning environments as we possibly can. And sometimes the information's repetitive, other times it's brand new. But I think it's critical for the team and you all to take this group learning environment and the repetitive training and diverse environments and maximize it as much as we possibly can. And some of that's on you guys. When we're not around, it's making sure you're being repetitive and never letting your team go, we've already done this, or we're already good at this, or we've done this 100 times, right? That's a sign of a culture you do not want. And I mean, I hear it from the Right Chat agents, over and over and over. I don't, but Brenna and the people that help run the company daily do. And their message is the same thing every time: tough, right? Repetition is great for athletes. It's great for you. So I just wanted to have a talk about it tonight, because I've seen, there's a couple of you that, I see that are in the Slack channels all the time. And what I don't want to have happen, it's like that employee at the office that, brings everybody else down. What I don't want is for if somebody puts a clinical case in there and has questions, I want to see all of you in there responding to it, right? And giving your thoughts. Or if you have a clinical question yourself, get in there and let's respond and create this group learning environment from a clinical and non-clinical perspective. And I know if we keep growing it and it becomes more and more powerful and the more and more new faces are engaged, I know we can create a voice for ourselves, just like this Pioneer group has and like Glenn's group has. But it's only going to work if that Slack channel's going off and, our doctor and spouse events getting bigger every single year. We don't know where that's going to be next year, but we're narrowing it down. And does all that make sense?
Sure. I got a question, or I guess a comment, as a new guy and new to the mastermind and Slack for that matter. Is there any basic steps that you can forward to me about how Slack works, or what your channels are or threads are? I'm talking channels, I'm talking threads. And before I can start trying to teach my team, I kind of need to know a little bit more about it, other than just the basics of clicking and responding.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, AJ. So
Okay.
you're going to probably have 3 Slack workspaces from New Patient Group, or I should say 2 from us. And you mentioned you had a third one also from a different vendor, correct?
Right, through Grayfinch.
Yeah, so if you just have the app on your desktop, that's where I usually use Slack, is on my desktop. If you have the app on your phone, certainly an option as well. When you go into those workspaces, it's purely about that group. Okay. When you go into Grayfinch, it's all things Grayfinch. When you go into the the workspace we created with your name on it, it's all about it's all about us working with you and your team. And then you have the mastermind, which with the folks you have on here, many others as well. When you go into that one, there's going to be probably 8 or 10 channels that are lined up with just different comment threads, right? So, clinical comment thread, you'll routinely see someone share a case. Rob had one here recently. Just, what do you do with this situation? And, let's get 8, 10 responses back within, the next 12 hours. So a guy that's in the middle of figuring things out and maybe weighing some opinions and this and that, is have some immediate response to compare against their own initial instincts. But then there's many other things, technology questions or, leadership questions, different things. So the channels within your workspace are meant to isolate your threads of communication so you can follow it and go back to comments from previous, et cetera.
That makes sense, but it's not something I subscribe to each of those channels, or I didn't know how to get onto those channels, I guess is my basic question.
Yeah, let me look at that for you, AJ.
Okay.
once you're in the mastermind, you're automatically included in a few of the channels, but then Brian needs to, we need to add you to the rest of the channels.
Okay, and it's more specifically for my team too. So I didn't know how that was working, but
Well,
I'm
your
sure that'll
team
be an
won't in
offline.
mastermind. They won't be
Right.
in mastermind, right? But in your
Okay.
personal workspace, if you have people you want to include, you just send them through to Lori or I, and we'll get them invited by email address. So you just need to give us the emails that you want included.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
You bet.
And this, like from a group learning environment and just the mental health standpoint, you know, there are, I want all of you to be a release for each other. Like some of the new ones, the cool part about this group is that, and I've seen others where you'll get looked down on or talked down to or whatever it may be. But this group, like there are no dumb questions. Like there's nothing. Like, so, I mean, if you want to tackle something with clear aligners that you've never tackled before, if you want to tackle something with braces or whatever it is, you know, we've got to get it in here. And I don't know, you know, the beauty of what we get to do is we get to see a lot of different practices. And I've noticed, you know, we've had, you know, people, I remember the Schulman group, we had a partnership with them for a while, and you work with some of their practices and they think they're so great. And they mostly operate like it came out of the late 80s. And, you know, we've worked with other practice with Pioneer Group and others, and all these groups, they think they're really great. And a lot of them are, but I will tell you, seeing practices all over the country, this group is at a whole nother level. I mean, Align gave me data a couple weeks ago that the industry is down 15% and the conversions dipped into the high 40s. Right? That was information they fed me. So you look at those numbers, and you know, if you're having a little bit of a down year, it may or not make you feel better, but a lot of you are having great years. You know, and a lot of you are having not so great years, but you're down 5% and you're not advertising. Meanwhile, these practices that are getting their butt kicked are out dropping $5,000 a month on pay-per-click ads and still can't close anybody. So you're so far ahead from a business marketing think tank, and clinically too. I met with a doctor yesterday, and I actually do think he's going to sign. Eric, that one last night, the guy's kind of right around the corner from Phil Doliak, who retired. He was a customer of ours for quite a while. And Phil's son was the backup center to Shaquille O'Neal at Miami when Shaquille was there. So he's a real tall guy. And anyway.
Didn't see the floor much.
Didn't see the floor much. Yeah, for sure. That's like being Elijah backup. Hey, Rich.
Hey,
we just got done talking about you. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Good. I just did a podcast about you with Bryn when she was at my house the other day. Do you remember the coffee? You remember the freaking lid we couldn't get to put on in your kitchen? It kept sucking off because we didn't have the. Yeah. We did a like how the most obvious things are staring yet. So I'm in Rich's kitchen. We're getting ready to go to his practice. And, you know, those MPG mugs we send all of you, they're like the Yeti cups. Well, I fill it up with coffee and I'm putting the lid on and it wouldn't go on. It would just pop right back off. And then I was pushing it harder and harder, thinking that was going to just pop right back off. And I'm like, Rich, what the hell am I doing wrong? He comes over, does the same thing. We can't figure it out.
You don't have the spout open.
There you go. That's what it was. Because I did that by accident. I wasn't even thinking. I just popped it open. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to try this one more time. It goes on right away. And, you know, it's like sometimes you're too close to the problem and it's just staring at you. So anyway, we did a podcast about that.
Hey,
but anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know. I don't always get back on and say thanks for the, responses that, you know, I get when I put stuff out, but, to Matt and Eric, they almost always are on there, and Rich has too. So anyway, you know, thanks for that. And also, someone has a birthday. All right, a 1, a 2, a 3. Happy birthday
to you. Cha cha cha. Happy birthday. You. Cha cha cha. Happy birthday.
Dear
Dear
Brian.
Brian.
Yeah, he's embarrassed.
Happy
All right.
birthday.
The kids are loving it. They're here. They're down the hall
All
here.
right. Blow it out, Brian.
Oh,
Look at that.
nice. Nice. I'm sure there'll be AI someday that'll allow you to hand me that cake through the
Yeah.
Zoom session
Or blow it out through the Zoom session.
or blow it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's we're driving to Aspen tomorrow with our neighbors, so that's gonna be my little birthday treat. But no, I
Hey, if
appreciate it.
could interject with just a couple of updates on a few things. We're a few sessions in now. I should say a few topics into the boot camp concepts. And I think they're going really, really well. I don't know about Brian's that he's hosted, but the ones I've had, we've had usually about 4-5 practices on each of the boot camps and getting some really good conversation. Some practices have been through the concepts that wanted to get back through it again. Some of the practices, they've hired some new people that they wanted to make sure get caught up with other members of the team. Some practices are brand new to NPG and are just kind of going through just some discovery of some concepts and topics. And I think they've gone really, really well. We've got 2 topics that I've been emailing out that are up for reservations right now or registrations to get you or your team on board, those upcoming ones. So I don't even remember the topics off the top of my head right now, but you can kind of look those over. I know like one of them is like pending patient processes and whatnot. And so Matt, like I told Matt that we're going to be hitting that pretty hard and we're going to be pretty aggressive about that at our Iconic with the TCs next week. So if you got TCs going to that, you can kind of check that box. But if you don't, that's a good topic to get some TCs to work through some pending patient routines. And I think the other one is handling conflict, is when you have a patient who's pissed off about this or that, or frustrated, or, are ready to, butt heads with a member of your team. It's how do you handle that conflict is one of the boot camps that are coming up soon. So I just want to make a plug for that.
Let me talk about that one. Hey, Eric, before you go to the second one. So this is a perfect example of why this diverse learning environment is so important. So Bryn Cooper, her husband, her 3 kids they just left Sunday. They were here from Thursday to Sunday and we hung out, did podcasts together, whatever. And I was talking to her about it, and there are some topics that we've trained them on several times that they're okay at, maybe not so good. And one of the assistants from her Lake Jackson location, just kind of blossomed from one of the sessions that we delivered, even though she's heard it 1,000 times. And I think that this is the perfect example of getting the heck out of, whether it be me inside the practice saying it to her face to face and getting her on a Zoom session with a bunch of your team members. And having her soak in the information in a way she wouldn't have done if I talked to her another 1,000 times in the practice. So I really want to encourage all of you to find these boot camps on our website and put your team through them. And again, that's repetition. And there's a honeymoon period with us, and like the new ones coming aboard, you'll see this. Where, it takes a while to introduce all the concepts, takes a considerable amount of time. But when you start really hunkering down and doing them repetitively, that's when the honeymoon kind of is over. Now it's all right, we're diving into the real stuff. And that's when the change really happens. But that's also when a lot of the pushback really happens, right? Well, we've done this before. We've already done this. We've already done this. And you're going to be tested, all of you. And that's when you've got to be armed with the leadership skills to either talk about exactly what I'm talking about tonight, the mutualism, cognitive training, the importance of all that stuff. And I think these boot camps are just fabulous. And the more I think you can join those, the better. Good.
So, hey, Brian, for those of us, including myself, who aren't quite 100% in the loop on the boot camp, would you spend a minute or two just kind of refreshing what that's all about and how we get involved in it?
Yeah, sure, Rich. So it's just, we take a singular concept, out of all the different things that we coach on, we grab one single concept and we set up a sequence of trainings. You know, sometimes they might be 2 trainings long, they might be 4 trainings long. And so we just have them scheduled over, like the ones I'm doing are typically every other week on a consistent date, consistent time. And so like one that I'm in the middle right now is just some of the new patient phone call skills. I don't think we can do that enough for people that need a refresher or when we get new staff on board. You know, like Brian mentioned, you know, Bryn Cooper, she has her whole team on it. So I got the assistants and
Yeah.
everybody role playing the new patient phone call in her practice. But we're doing.
She's been, hey Eric, she's actually, just to let you guys know, she's been on every single one we've done so far. And what she's doing is, yeah, her too, her whole team. And what she told me is that she's actually replacing the private sessions. She's like, I don't want them. Like, just let me do these for a while. We'll use that as the private sessions, and then we'll circle back to some more private sessions later. Like she sees, matter of fact, it's something that, like, for the new coaching customers, you know, we're doing a little bit less private sessions with them because we want them substituting maybe 6 less private sessions a year for some of these boot camp sessions, as an example. And none of you in the past are forced to do that by any means, but that's what she's choosing to do because of how much her team is enjoying it, and just, you know, likes being on with 5 or 6 other groups of people. But good.
So are these set up kind of like we have our masterminds right now with multiple officers all just kind of chiming in? Is that how it's done?
That's correct, Rich. Yeah. So we're doing them during the working day. But yeah, you might be in with 3 or 4 other practices, you know, and could be anywhere from 2 to 5 other members of their teams. It's more of a group learning environment, and you get to hear other people battling just like your employees would battle, and everybody's getting feedback and learning from one another.
So if we're interested in it, we'll just contact you and see about how to get that set up.
Yeah, we send out some emails, and there's a registration link in those emails. If you need me to resend those, Rich, just send me a message, okay?
What's the cost on those?
Nothing.
For you, Rich, we're going to do it for free, buddy.
Oh, wow.
God, you have us doing everything.
Nobody
for free.
else on this meeting, though.
Everyone else is paying. You get it for free. My goodness gracious. No, if you guys just go to, if you want to see the calendar, I believe just on our website, if you go under coaching and go to boot camps, you'll see the topics. I think there's landing pages. Sometimes we may not always have a landing page for it, but you know, it's always on there, and then we'll send it out via email. And do we send it out via Slack too? Are they getting notifications on Slack, or is it just email?
I don't remember. I can't honestly.
Yeah,
I've been sending them an email because they're kind of big messages. So email
Yeah.
is my typical format.
Actually,
And
I think
I like
it's email, yeah.
for all of you, like the on-demand courses, the boot camps, the private sessions, the on-sites, the iconics. This is all done with intent. It's not just something that's like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. It's all done with intent to try to be in front of you as much as we possibly can, and continually make you better leaders. Want to make you better clinicians. And I know that sounds crazy because it's not like I'm going to train you on that, but what I sure as hell can do is make sure all of you have the mindset of pushing each other to do cases you otherwise might not have done. You know, try a case with a certain treatment modality you never would have otherwise done, et cetera, et cetera. You get the point. And just challenge each other. And the other one, off topic, but this is one that, you know, initially this was happening for a while. You know, Jep went and stayed with Bob Skopak at his practice for a couple of days. And I think there was somebody else that went, but another idea that we talked about early on is you guys visiting. And I know time's a factor in this. It's like, when do I have the time? But I believe that if you value it enough, you'll find the time is visiting each other's practices, because all of you have open doors for each other. And, you know, if you strive to achieve a Rob Schaefer type model as an example, last time I was at Rob's, Rich was going to try to meet there, but just the timing of it didn't work out. But just talking to each other on, hey, you know, I want to come stay with you for a couple of days and watch. And this is good, like for like AJ, Cody, like some of the newer ones, you know, as you envision what the future looks like and the type practice you want. I mean, you have open doors with doctors that'll let you fly out there and, you know, and just watch for a couple of days. And if you can time that when Eric's there or when I'm in a practice, even better. because then we all go out to dinner that night and blah, blah, blah. But I want you guys to use all of these tools that you have. It's such an amazing group, clinically and non, if you're using all the tools. We just got to use the tools and use each other.
Second thing I wanted to update on, we don't have a destination location yet. I think we're going to have something within probably the week. But for the NPG Mastermind, we are targeting still. We've kind of found a nice sweet spot first weekend in April. So look those calendars over, and a doctor plus one type of event. We're really trying to lock in. We got some really cool places that we've been evaluating and good locations, and so hopefully we're going to have something to share with everybody here within the next week or so. But lock down that first weekend of April.
Hey, Eric, are those boot camps recorded and put on the platform at all, or?
Yeah, so I don't think Brian's done this yet, but as I've been recording mine, in your office automated portal, in your resource center, the curriculum houses the NPG on demand videos.
Yeah.
Of course, we're all there, the office manual where we put our agendas and stuff. But there's another bucket in there, is the continuing education section. And so as I've been hosting my boot camps, as we have a recorded session, I'm just adding them into the continuing education area for those that maybe miss a session or want to dive in and go back through what others are learning.
Okay, good.
I'm really bad at getting like these mastermind sessions in there. I have gotten better with our personal training sessions, because I used to be bad at that too, but just getting these recordings into where they're supposed to be. I'm not good at it. Probably should be having Stephanie or somebody handle it for me, but they are supposed to be in there just like these are. So if you don't see them in there, give us a friendly reminder of, hey, I don't see it, and we'll get it in there for sure.
Hey, I know Eric's giving you friendly reminders. I know that.
Oh yeah.
I would
Yeah.
never.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He would never. I get messages, like, I think one of them today was like, Rob responded to you in Slack or something. Like, yeah, Rob and I are texting. We talked on the phone. We're good. Like, thanks for the reminder. But
Let's
seriously,
not go there. You don't want to go there, pal.
yeah, I do. The next year for the in-person, I want to blow it out of the water. Every year has been amazing for different reasons. And Lori and Eric, we did a Zoom the other day, got me on a Zoom and showed me some things that there were some Airbnbs, some different cities, different locations. And regardless of which one it ends up being, it's going to be a winner for sure. But I really want to see new faces there, old faces there, and I just want to knock this one out of the park. I think they've all been knocked out of the park, but I just want to get a huge, massive, everyone that was there every year so far, plus the new faces, and just do it upright.
I think Kirk ruined us for trying to find new places. That house
He did.
Yeah.
Ruined us.
Well, job. Yeah.
Great.
How
Yeah.
firm is the first weekend in April?
It's not completely firm. Why? Am I battling something?
Well, I just have a niece that's getting married. That's
Well, how firm's her wedding date?
pretty firm. Pretty firm.
Pretty firm.
Now here's the real question, Regina. Is your niece more important or me? All of us.
I won't dignify that with a response because my niece might hear the answer someday.
Well,
But I also want to make an embarrassing confession. While you guys were talking about Slack, I'm not used to using it, and maybe it's because I'm old, but I don't do much except on apps, except maybe Facebook, So I'm scrolling through it while you guys are talking, because I'm thinking, what are they talking about? The clinical cases? And I see it finally on there, and it says 80 unread whatevers. And I'm like, shit, I didn't even know that. I was thinking Slack was like, these meetings like we're on tonight, like reminders of that. I didn't realize it had
No.
all those other things. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting here going, oh, there's all kinds of things on here besides, because you guys send reminders to these meetings through email. So I never even look at the Slack to see, because I'm getting them in the emails. I'm
Well,
embarrassed.
Well, we may need to do more tutorial. I don't even know. I mean, maybe this is worth a question, but like Glenn's group, they're all pretty much do their interactions on private Facebook chats. Like, I think once you know how to use Slack, it may not be the best in the world, but once you know how to use it, it's pretty easy, good communication tool. But is Slack the way to go? Like, is
Well,
that
I
is that
don't,
what
I
we
don't
should be
know.
using?
I can't comment on it because I haven't even tried it, because I didn't realize what it really was,
I've gotten a little lost on it. I had to call Eric up, and I talked to Brian too, and I think we got it worked out. I could not find the clinical channel, but for some reason it popped up. Hey Eric, are you a little reluctant to reveal the possible considerations for our mastermind? Do you prefer to wait on that, or do you feel like sharing?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
We're gonna wait. There's just so many variables, you guys know, that have been there before, of finding a venue that can accommodate what we're trying to accomplish, the social event as well as the privacy, and things that we can do in the area. But temperature, weather conditions, we're doing it in April doesn't open up the whole country, unfortunately. So we're trying to navigate around a lot of different variables, plus cost, is
Yeah.
and travel, right? So anyway, we're really looking, and Lori's done a great job. Lori's very thorough about finding all the details.
Yeah,
that we're
she
looking
has.
for. And so she's really scoured the country over and found some
Yeah.
good options for us.
Yeah. That other variable that's been thrown into the pot, that's why Don Martin's not on tonight, because Florida and these back-to-back hurricanes is, it takes months of planning and calling businesses and restaurants way ahead of time. Well, like Asheville, Matt, which was on the map. Well, Asheville's underwater, so there's not going to be a way to start. We're not going to be able to plan anything there anytime soon. So some of the areas because of that have gotten kind of wiped out. Hey, real quick before I forget, I do want to give a little bit of a round of applause to Kirk Specs, because what I put in Slack, and everyone has different conversion goals and have converted different in the past and things like that. But 80% coming from where you were, finish in September at 80% is a real huge accomplishment. So
Yeah,
I just
I'm
wanted,
grateful.
I
Nice
just
work.
wanted to, do. I mean, they've worked their ass off, but I think the way you're using the iTero machine and just some of the other stuff going on, that open choice, I'm becoming whether you use OrthoFi or not, I think all of you should be doing open choice. You should tell people, put down whatever you want, extend out as long as you want. And I know that there's that's a little exaggerated, but I'm such a believer in it that, and you can charge more because of it and blah, blah, blah. So I think the open choice has certainly got more people to start that otherwise wouldn't have. So
If
proud
I
of
could
you.
add to that,
Good.
and this would be really good for some group discussion. Hey, Mark.
Hey,
Uh,
All right. Can't talk about Mark Olson anymore. He's on.
yeah, sorry, buddy.
So-
Happy birthday, Brian, by the way.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. How's the house?
You guys,
One tile job away. I'm good.
Nice.
so some of you guys might already be doing this, but Sadia Nyack in Hawaii, over the past probably 6 months or so, they've extended treatment payments over 6 to 12 months past treatment length. And so they're doing the whole paid discount if when you end treatment, and you still have 10 more payments to make, that they're creating an incentive for paying it off in full, whatever the remaining balance is. And they've told me they're getting a lot of takers on that.
Yep.
A lot of takers. And it might give you a little more confidence to be a little bit more flexible on what's the length of terms you'll provide. And I don't think they're doing a huge discount, and you're only talking about a small percent of the original treatment plan to begin with at that point. But he's really been sharing some positive feedback, and his financial manager in the practice, they say it's going very well.
You know, it's interesting with the Chicago practice we started. We decided not to finance in office anybody. And we've given them an option, you know, a discount to pay in full, or we've gone through HFD, which those of you that don't know what that is, it's a company kind of, I think, like an OrthoFi, where they offer financing options. And it's like if they have really good credit, they can pay 12 months, no interest, or they can extend it out 36 months, 48 months, as long as I think as up to 72.
Yeah.
But they pay interest.
Right.
And my gut feeling at first was nobody's going to pick the interest options, right? Because I don't pay interest if I can absolutely help it, right? I'm surprised at these people that drive up in these
S-Class,
yeah,
interest, please.
Yeah.
unbelievably expensive automobiles, big jewelry, and they're picking the option of 72 months with 29% interest.
Yep. Well, hey, I mean, I think everybody, you know, there's three things, right? It's can I do it? Do I have time to do it? And can I afford it? And I think the more receptionists know how to edify, your digital marketing's right, the downtime videos that go out, you know, overcome those things, the better. And the majority of people, you know, there'd be a lot of Mercedes S-Classes driving around. If they said you could buy one, it's 180 grand, but it's $100 down payment and it's $99 a month, right? There'd be Mercedes S-Classes everywhere because that's how the majority of the country makes their buying decisions. So
crazy.
that's what y'all have to really remember is, you know, how you buy and how you think is not how oftentimes the majority of who you're selling to thinks. So, and that's where that down payment is such a barrier to entry in orthodontics. You eliminate that barrier. I still think that's the biggest barrier. But they'll move that baby to whatever monthly payment fits what they love. And if that includes interest, that includes interest.
Yeah, I was really taken aback. I did not anticipate that. And some of them are like, it's interesting the way they'll say it. They'll say, oh, I'm going to take this one, but it does say if I pay it off in full in 12 months, I won't pay any interest. But I'm going to take the 72. And you know, they're not going to pay it off.
Probably not.
Did they share that interest with you, Regina?
No. But we get paid within like 4 working days, the total.
Okay. So what was the name of that you said you were using?
Healthcare finance, HFD, healthcare finance, something.
That's with the line, right? Is that what it is? And then I forget the guy's name. He's from Arizona. It's one of the faculty with the line. He mentioned that to me. Did they charge you a fee?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So for example, like $6,500 case, your fee might be $250 or $300 or something like that.
So is it like a percentage or just a flat fee based on the amount?
You know what? I'm embarrassed that I don't know 100% off the top of my head what that is.
Nathan, like most of the banks, it's going to be like if you offer
I
them
think it's a percentage.
Yeah, it is. It's because if they pick a 0% option, the fee to you is going to be a lot higher than if they go in interest, because if they go 0%, the bank's got to make their money off someone, and that's you.
Mhm.
Right? If they're picking the interest plans, then the fee to you drops because now they're making it mostly off the customer, the patient. So it'd be a percentage for sure.
But you get your money right away. So for cash flow, it's been
exactly.
really nice. And there's no chasing the money.
That's I went through we were going through the financial presentation course with Blair White's practice, so I hope his note taker is grabbing this comment. But as we went through it, they ultimately were like, we're going to ditch doing the in-house payment plan, and they just signed up to do everything through Cherry. Right now, I don't know the difference between some of the fees
Yeah.
and accommodations, Cherry versus HFD. But to Regina's point, you know, and Brian's point, you know, if you can eliminate down payments, because going third party, you can just finance the entirety of it,
Yep.
generally speaking. So that's a patient win. The extension of terms, obviously, you can get your lowest dollar investment by extending your terms out to 5 years, 6 years. But to Regina's point is having that paid in full type of cash flow. You know, most of you are probably doing 5% discount for paying in full, right? Well, this is in the ballpark. It's not 5%, but it's in the ballpark. to
Yeah,
have
it,
that
it
cash
didn't
flow.
seem like it cost us a lot more than the pay in full discount.
Right.
Well, but what we also got to remember too is when you offer 5% paid in full, the only people that you're ever going to get do that are the small portion of the population that actually pay in full. When that, you know, when you get hit with whatever fee you get hit with, you get paid in full by the bank, but they're still paying monthly. Right. And I always think that the more cash you get now, I mean, the money today is going to be worth way more today than it is, you know, especially our government prints $1 trillion every 90 days. So that'll just tell you, yeah, it's a joke. But I mean, the dollar's so devalued that I think getting paid in full now is more important than it's ever been, especially if you need cash flow. But to me, I would do anything as a practice to get everybody to pay in full.
Quick question, the startup or soon to be startup doc, like with the paid in full, so I always heard, you know, you got to watch your paid in fulls because I mean, I'm assuming that's if you're blowing the money, like you're spending it and you're not using it over.
Yeah,
2
you've
years,
got
whatever.
you've got to be mindful. And that's like, again, the Chicago practice is a startup.
Yeah.
And funds don't commingle with, my other offices. So it's standalone. So absolutely, I mean, we may have, you know, $60,000 in the bank, but we don't, you don't go out and say, okay, I can take a $30,000 draw off that.
Yeah.
Because if you
Yeah.
have a slow couple of months, you still got to
Yeah.
pay your rent and you've got to pay your staff, and you've got to pay your materials fee, you know, your lab fees, your bracket and wire fees, things like that. So
So the point is basically don't draw from it. Just spend your like, you know, have a salary whenever you know your
that's
cash flow
right.
enough to get there.
Until you're established and you know what, you have a steady stream of patients like that coming in. You have to be very mindful. The other thing is, I'm knock on wood, a little financially conservative in that, I always like to have a cushion of money that's, you know, like 3 or 4 months worth of expenses just sitting there in case, you know, you never know if you're gonna be out of work for a while or something you know, COVID hits or, you know, something you just don't plan on.
Mhm. Thank you.
You guys want to tell Mike Wilson how good he looks in his workout gear?
Yeah, I was trying to.
Give us one, Mike. Come on, bring it.
Camera off because I'm trying to. Brian, you see, or Eric, I just talked to my OrthoFi rep. They said they are adding third party financing as one of the choices now. And then the other thing they said they're beta testing, and curious to hear about how people feel about that, is passing along the credit card fee to patients. And I don't know how they're going to present that, but I know that's definitely a touchy subject. But I was actually surprised to see they said they're already beta testing that with a bunch of their practices. Have you heard anything
Interesting.
about that?
Well, couple
Wow.
things here first. So, you know, Brian and I, we you know, Brian's long spoken for OrthoFi. Well, they've got a new division of their company called Accept Care, and Accept Care has a robust network of third-party merchants that are kind of funding the lending program. So it doesn't surprise me that OrthoFi is maybe now kind of leaning into what Accept Care was creating a network, and it's pretty cool. Like when you're going up and down the Accept Care slider, it automatically transitions from, you know, the interest to no interest, and and what's in-house versus what's being handled by an outside party. It's very seamless. The consumer really doesn't see or know what's going on behind the scenes inside the Accept Care program. And so I think you guys will have that benefit coming through OrthoFi really soon.
The other piece, and I don't know why, because I think OrthoFi has done a really bad. I just talked to Dave. This was 2 weeks ago, their CEO, about this, and he doesn't know either. But OrthoFi has done a really bad job. So I want to make sure all of you know is that if you're in good standing with Invisalign, you can now finance your Invisalign bill for 12 months at 0% interest. If you use OrthoFi, you can do it right through them with their partnership. And a lot of practices don't know that. So Invisalign hasn't done a good job, neither does OrthoFi, is spreading that word. So just keep, like the Matt Josie, good exams, plenty more, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah. I think it's 10 payments. We were just gonna sign up for it. I was on some 6-month plan to pay it full, but I ran the numbers with my accountant and he said, yeah, switch to that for cash flow.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it because they want their money too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like we do. It's like what we're talking about. They want their.
Yeah, they want it now.
Yeah.
They won't let you credit card to get the credit card points. It's got to be drafted from your bank account. So
yeah.
Well, so I am interested in hearing everybody's opinion on Mike's comment about, passing the credit card fees along to the customer, et cetera, because obviously the patient gets the benefit of those credit card points, but then you guys end up paying the 2.5-3% fee for the credit card charges. So what's everybody thinking about that?
I've thought about that, and I've asked some people about it today, actually, a really big practice that I know. And he said just bake the fee into the percentage into your fee. And if they pay, cash, then give them a discount. But, asking like my wife, she doesn't know anything about ortho. So it's, she's like a mom kind of perspective. And I feel like it has a negative, because I was all about, oh yeah, we're just going to do this, pass it along and blah, blah, blah. Sounds great for me, but it has a negative connotation, in my opinion. My personal.
It's interesting that, it's like it's like the whole, do you raise taxes or lower taxes on corporations? And I see why some people would think you should raise them, but the second you raise them, then they fire people and outsource the jobs overseas, and then they increase all their prices, and we're the ones that get screwed. And I kind of look at it this way too, is if they're going to jack up little fees here and there on you guys, and then you end up increasing your prices, now the customer you serve is got to cough up and find an additional way to afford what you're hoping they buy. And just all these little nickel and dimes, they just add up in people's lives. So I mean, I'm curious what other people think, but
as a consumer, it infuriates me when someone does that. So I'm not doing that to my patients.
We have
credit card fees are a cost of doing business. Definitely incentivize, and you should have some sort of a funnel, your TC, to first say, let's get this going with your checking account, or, oh, you don't want to do check. Okay. Which one do you prefer, Visa or MasterCard? Oh, do you accept American Express? Yeah, of course. You funnel it down to the worst one, but other than that, it's just the cost of doing business.
Agreed 100%. By the way, that was Jeff Hines' voice that you just heard.
Hey, Jeff Hines.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, boys and girls. Sorry.
He's much better looking than that little black square we're looking at. Just letting you know that.
Oh, man, I agree with him. PJs doing dishes, boys. You don't want to see this.
Nice. No, I agree with what he said. He made a really good point that I hope all of you heard too. Is it goes back to get what you want, deliver more than expected. So if you're gonna take the credit cards, you should always, just like he talked about, have the TC be dual closing the ones that have the best fees for you first, right? And then if you end up at one that's got a higher fee, like we all know Amex does, then so be it. But you've got to train your people to speak in an A or B way, and both those A or B work better for you. That was a really good point that I hope you all picked up on.
We have everyone.
Don't add it to your fees. Like, don't. I mean, I wouldn't make it known. Like, I don't agree with like, here, we're gonna charge you 3% more because you want to use a credit card, but is it not wise to just, it's part of your fee, as in like, this is what you want to charge, what you want to get reimbursed for, profit margins, blah, blah, blah. Is that what you guys are saying? Or are you saying just don't even
I'm
think
with
about
If you feel like you should raise your fees, then just raise them, and every year, a couple percent. I wouldn't
Yeah.
do it for the credit card reason.
Okay.
I agree with Jeff. I just think it's cost of doing business. This lodge where we're having Iconic here next week, and some of you obviously been here already. It's a really nice, like it's expensive to join. And then there's a monthly on top of it. But the golf course and the steakhouse and the private gym, all the amenities are just they're fantastic. But they will not take a credit card to join. Like I want to pay with my United card because I can business deduct the expense and I want to get the miles. But they will not do it because of the credit card fee. And it's asinine. It's they would rather not have the 11 grand in exchange for not wanting to get hit with a $200, $300, $400 credit card fee. And it's just stupidity. But anyway, that's what I told him. It's just a cost of doing business. Like if you think your prices need to be raised because you're an awesome clinician, you keep getting better at it, and the experience for your customers keep getting better, then just raise them. But I wouldn't use the credit card as the reason to raise them at all. That's just cost of doing business, in my opinion. But use that 0% financing option, guys, if you're orthofying it and using Invisalign. I mean, that's just free cash. That's just a no-brainer. Eric, did you say you had mentioned the boot camps? You had a couple updates. We talked about the event next year, the boot camps, and then did you have anything else?
Those were the two things I
No.
wanted to sprinkle in the
Okay.
updates.
Well, I don't know, like Jeff Hines, Mike, I don't know, Mark. I know Mark, you missed a lot of it, so I really want you to go back and watch the recording of this. But I really want this group to, and some of you it's just a matter of learning Slack, but we have some of the best clinicians on the planet in this group, and again, like the industry's getting their butt handed to them this year, and all of you are either up or if you're down, you're not down a lot. And in some of your cases, even like a Rob Schaefer, you're making intentional decisions to be down, just because you're trying to run a different business model and less stress and things like that. But I just want this group to engage more in those Slack channels and again, visit each other's practices. There are so many different ways you can learn from each other just by going and hanging out for a day or two and watching how things work somewhere else. Those Slack channels, these monthly meetings, tonight's a great audience. But I like next week, I'm really excited about because, we'll have 2 every year moving forward. There's not another event like it in orthodontics. And some of your TCs that are coming, like a Matt Josie is an example, who've been with us quite a while. There's going to be some repetition there, but there's also going to be a lot of new stuff. But even the stuff that's repetitive, because they're going to be amongst a group and that mutuality, I know they may get more out of 2 days at Iconic than they've gotten in the last year working with us privately. And I really believe that, just in that diverse learning environment. So I just want to reset and kind of just have everybody, I just want to see it like daily interactions on that Slack channel and asking each other to visit each other's practice, get clinical advice from each other. And I love the saying, be the dumbest person in the room. Like I know, whenever you speak in an audience, it's hard to get people to talk, like, hey, any questions, things like that, or in a big group. But the one person that brings up the question, 10 other people in the group had it. They just didn't want to ask. And the more questions you're asking each other, and the better. And for some of you came on maybe a little late, like take advantage of these boot camp sessions that we're doing now. They're really productive, but make sure all of you who've been with us, especially a while, don't get away from the weekly meetings, the on-demand courses, making the team do things in a repetitive fashion, no matter how much they may push back. Because if you have that culture, I promise you, and it's really the difference between our practices that take the leap to just extraordinary is us convincing you that repetition is more important than anything else you'll ever do, period. Like the hourly employees are not going to become great at this stuff if you are not repetitively practicing with them, period. It's not possible. At that pay level, it's not possible for them to get great at it unless you're repetitive with them. And if you came on late, but just kind of reiteration is this too, is just, move your weekly meetings. If you can, get out of your office, go to the park, go eat lunch together, just get out of the environment and do the same thing you otherwise would. And you're going to get a lot more out of it, especially, like I said, if you're older. That's the P. You're going to be able to keep the information. Like I'm going to pick on Rich for a second. Did Rich leave?
No, I'm here.
I'm going to pick on you. Like as an example, like the more diverse, learning environments we can get you into as an example, the more you're going to grasp, the information. The psychology is proven on that. So I just wanted today to be about those topics and hopefully kind of hit a reset button and, get, like I said, some of you are struggling, some of you are doing great, but I want you all to be there for each other if you're struggling, and I want you to put in Slack, hey, I'm having a crappy year. Like just, here's some questions and just get each other's help, because some of you are kicking butt, some of you aren't. But all of you who are down are still way better than what the industry's had happen to it this year. So you should still be proud of it. Bryn Cooper's up having her best year ever in Houston, in a crappy economy. Like Spec, you're coming off that, that amazing conversion month of September. There's so many positives, but there's also struggles. And I want you guys to share those with each other, the struggles, the positives. And I just want to see that Slack channel blow up. I want these monthly sessions to be, big crowds like this. And I'm pushing myself. That's why another reason I want to do this topic tonight is it's going to take, I told Matt Josie this today, it's going to take me a good 6 months, but I'm coming up and it's going to be an absolute incredible leadership course that includes stuff that is just blowing my mind as I read. You think you know something about a topic and then you start reading more and more and you realize you don't. But it's going to just be an unbelievable leadership course to put all of your like Jeff Hines. I know Patty, pretty sure that's her name. That's something that they've wanted for a while, is to be able to put people through this leadership course. So she's their lead assistant. And that's what I want it to be is, you put your team through it and your leaders through it, and they come out the other side, running the clinic better, making other people better, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of exciting stuff happening. And I just want to hit the reset button a little bit and just kind of get some re-engagement in the mastermind. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Questions, comments?
Yeah. On that note, as I've shared with you before, we have had a pretty crap year, probably the worst that I've had in my whole career. But I will tell you, we started doing that open choice and it basically saved us. It made me a little nervous because we're starting cases with, 250 down and going out 36 months, but we're starting cases. So there's a lot to be said for that.
Well, and I'm proud of you for doing it because, Rich, what I love, Rich is one of my favorite people of all time. And a lot of people, with his age, he didn't give a damn. Like you guys saw him last year, he out hiked all of you at the mastermind event, and then was pissed whenever you guys were amazed by it. That's what I liked about it even better. But the way he's using, like they're starting to adopt these new, not the new features, the features have always been there, but using those features of the iTero in the exam room and just being and showcasing that tech, and then open choice. And OrthoFi's got the data, you guys. When you let people choose, your cash flow will go up unless the TC is really screwing it up. It's when you say, hey, we require $1,000 down, right? Or 500 down or 1,500 down. Then that's what they put. But if you let them choose, a lot of times the ones that would have put 500 down, they put 2,000 down. Like they'll put down the number to get to the monthly they need to get to fit comfortably. And what you have to remember, this is what it's the aggregate versus transactional mindset is if I come in there today and I pay in full, right? And whatever, you get 6,500 from me. Well, why wouldn't you start the guy tomorrow that wants to start but doesn't have enough money for the down payment? Right? That's a zero down payment start right there. Why? I covered it. But if you're looking at it transactionally, you'll never think that way. And OrthoFi exec, they teach that and blah, blah, blah. And you shouldn't get in the habit of zero down. That's not what I'm teaching. But in the one-off situation, so what? And you should start that case. I'm a big believer in it. As long as it's not the norm, right? That should never be the norm. But all of you should eliminate the down payment as a barrier. And I think most of you have. So most of you already have done that, but that down payment and that monthly is where Regina proved it, right? It's like they drive up in a Mercedes S-Class, but they're still financing it for 72. They're financing the Invisalign treatment for 72 months, you know, with interest. So you got to match what 90% of this country pretty much does. And that's buy with low monthly payments and a lot of interest.
Yeah. You know, those people that are driving that Mercedes and they're financing their ortho at 90% really are very financially stupid, and they're way overextended. It's obvious, you know. Yeah.
Well, there are, you know, what you guys like in the entrepreneur world, and some of you can't, the type business owner you are, you can't really take advantage of as many things. But if you look at kind of like my entrepreneur past, there's a lot of advantages of things like and I'll give you kind of a Bitcoin example of what a lot of CEOs, BlackRock is doing this, Larry Fink, like Michael Saylor, is that you can take out non-taxable loans against the Bitcoin and go use that to invest more or, you know, pay off stuff or whatever it may be. But there's a lot of strategies around why you don't want to pay stuff off as well. And it depends on who you follow. But there's so many tax advantages. Like there's a reason Jeff Bezos doesn't pay taxes, right? They take out non-taxable loans and they go out and buy homes and write off the interest. There's so many different ways to use the tax code as an entrepreneur. So a lot of those people, like I'm one of them, I will never pay anything in full, period. I want the cash and I'm going to either go take that cash and go invest it somewhere else or buy something I can deduct or whatever it may be. I play every tax rule there is. So a lot of it is that too, is that you've got people that like, I have the money to buy it in full, but I never will ever. So, and it's obviously like Eric is a Dave Ramsey guy. I'm a Mark Moss guy and Michael Saylor guy. Like I want to take out loans on my assets and go buy more investments or pay off stuff, et cetera, because those loans are non-taxed. So there's just different ways of looking at money. So it's not rich. I don't even think it's, you know, some of them may be stupid, you know, but a lot of it is they're playing the game. They want to keep as much cash as they possibly can, even if they're paying interest on it.
Yeah, I'm more along the lines of Eric. I'm more a Dave Ramsey type.
Yeah, and that's there's nothing wrong with it. You know,
Yeah.
it's just two totally different. Like I'll give you an example. Like if you make 50 grand on a Bitcoin as an example, right? And this is true with other investments, but if you make 50 grand and you sell that, you're now taxed on it. So why the hell would you ever sell it when you can take out 100 grand loan against it that's non-taxed?
Yeah, unless
Like,
now,
why would you ever do that?
but now they're talking about taxing unrealized gains, and so you know it's insane. But one point that I want to make on that I think is kind of a critical
criminal.
point. Is an important point is the fact that I like to not have high interest, and I don't like high interest, and our employees may not do it. It's really not our business to try and influence that for the patient. They're adults, and and sometimes we step on our own shoes by saying, well, I'm not going to offer this financing option for the patient because the interest is too high. It's up to them, and if they want to do it, we should just be okay with that, I think.
Right.
And a lot of you need to make sure that your TCs fully understand that. Like a lot of you have been with us a long time. I'm not really worried about it. But again, if you're not repetitive, they'll fall back into patterns without you even noticing it. But if if a TC is a Dave Ramsey person, as an example, they are going to present options in a way, in a biased fashion that leans more towards how they would buy. It's just reality. And it's the same way my dad was a paid in full guy, engineer. A lot of engineers are. So if my dad was presenting money in your office, he would distort the low monthly payments with interest. Like he would just accidentally make that sound like a bad option. That happens.
How do you vet for that when you're hiring a TC? You know, some of them have, you know, a price ceiling where a $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 fee is, they just don't buy in. They think it's too expensive or whatever. I mean, obviously you want them to have belief in your abilities and that it's worth it. But sometimes there's a person that, like, that's just too much money to them. And that's not what you want. I know that. But how do you hire and make sure that they're not that person?
I don't typically have trouble, Nathan, getting them past the natural buying mindset of their own. Like if they're a guy like me, you know, and they would rather pay in full, I don't have trouble getting them to be an advocate for the patient to make a decision that's best for them. But you're describing maybe someone that's entirely different. Like maybe they were brought up in their household where, you know, maybe they were poor. I mean, let's just be honest about it. And the idea of what you're charging for orthodontics, they feel guilty presenting that to the customer. That's different, right? Because that's different than getting past your own buying mindset.
Right.
That's more of an inherent.
How do you make sure they're not that person that
I don't know. I want to hear from the rest of the group.
Yeah.
Well, I think a couple of weeks ago, you did a Fantastic 5 minute, and it had to do with, I was looking for it, trying to find it. It seemed like it was late August, early September, but we did 2 of them in a row. And this particular one had to do with trying to influence people not in a deceitful way, but in essence, how we say things, how we present things. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, but how that's presented can make a difference between somebody committing versus somebody walking out the door. And what was interesting, I was hoping I could find it because I meant to message Eric about it because it split my staff down the row. People felt really strongly one way or another of how and it was using psychology to influence people. And some people felt really, really strong that is a really bad thing to do. That shouldn't be. That's trickery, like the used car salesman type of a thing, you know. And it's like, but you're being exposed to this every day, and everywhere we go, this psychology is being put on us. And whether you're watching social media, whether you're just out here listening to commercials on TV, I mean, the Cialdini principles, all these things are being out there and being used on us to move us one way or another.
Yeah, I think
the political season's on us.
When you talk to them about stuff like that, in my opinion, the big differentiator there is that you know, and they need to know that you're always doing the right thing for the patient.
Yeah,
right. You're not trying to influence them to do something that's against their best interest. In fact, sometimes people need a little bit of, convincing to do the right thing for themselves or for their kids. And, you know, that's the line. And probably the road, if you had people that were really strongly against it, that you needed, the line you needed to out there. Also, you know, some of those people don't need to maybe even hear that message if they're not in the TC. You know, I don't know. I guess everyone's really selling into practice, so maybe they all do need to hear it. But as long as they know it's for the best of them, you know, that's where I would focus there versus trying to say, oh, everyone else is doing this to you, we should do it too. I think we're not doing something for their harm. We're doing it for what's right for them.
We had that discussion about that, but it's interesting. Everybody in your team comes from a different viewpoint, and it does impact it, and it impacts it in their way, you know. And then there's I'm curious. Back in 2008, when the housing bubble broke, and everybody looked at the banks and said, you know, the banks took advantage of people. They gave them loans they had no business having, and they got upside down. And, you know, a lot of people suffered through that. And I just throw this out as a question more than anything. You know, we finance people. We finance people every day. And do we have an obligation to protect people from themselves? I mean, yes, we're all adults and we all make decisions, and we have the right to do that. And so did those people that signed in 2008 or before that got themselves into places they shouldn't. You know, when people get in financial problems, then people stop showing up and they start talking to their friends, and it doesn't come about. The thing that I worry about is that when they can't make their payment or they get behind, and then all of a sudden the kids don't show up and they become victimized by it. And when they talk to their friends, they don't tell their friends they couldn't afford the payments. They tell their friends that the orthodontics was too expensive. And there is a potential negative backlash to that. And so I just, I'm not sure where the right answer is there. I just throw it out there as something to think about. There's, as we finance people, do we have any sense of obligation here to be wise? And
I hear you there.
Not to be biased.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I'm probably the one oddball out in the group who will go against the grain of the zero down. I mean, I'm all for low monthly payments, but like the zero down stuff, we frankly got burned on. And almost I would say 90% of the contracts we signed that were zero down or $100 down are now in my AR past 90. So I would take it as less of a, in my opinion anyways, you got to know your audience and who you're working with, but I would use it as something that's in my back pocket. If you come across a family that's really, really great and they just can't afford it, and that, you get a good feeling about it, maybe you offer it to them as a one-off, or maybe you're going to have great luck with it like some of the other docs here have. We just had horrible luck with it, so I won't do it unless it's someone that, again, I really want to extend a courtesy to. And frankly, sometimes those I'm just treating for free anyways, because we didn't have a great opportunity or a great experience with it. And we've seemed to find, for whatever reason, that people that wanted to choose that option, to your point, really just couldn't afford orthodontics.
What about also, like, whenever you're talking about the families that get into a bind or whatever? I mean, there's a psychology that plays into that of you've got a parent who wants their child to have orthodontic treatment because usually there's a true need, and it's no different than iPhone. They want their kid to have what all the other cool kids have. And so anyway, the point of it is, I think it's
Why the hell would you buy your kid an iPhone? I've never understood that. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But I think it's how you handle it. So if you want, it's a numbers game and psychology, in my opinion, of you get a family that can't afford the payment, they get embarrassed, and then maybe they had a rough month or two. But I think if the practice reaches out and it's like, let's help you get you back on track, renegotiate the contract, be flexible from a business standpoint, even if you get a percentage of those cases back on track, and you might lose some money, maybe you have to wash that month or you have to, decrease the payment, but you're trying to help them. It also gets the kid back into practice versus they're just unsupervised for whoever knows how long.
One thing we've done with handling those kind of cases, of course, is always pretty hard, is private conference with the parent and saying, look, we understand that maybe now might not be the best time for orthodontics, but I want you to know that we've gotten your child to a point where where you're not doing any damage to them by cutting loose right now. We've gotten to a point where your smile's nice, the bite is acceptable, and they can pick up a little bit later, because I think that's always one of the biggest stress points for the parents, is wanting to make sure that they haven't done damage to their child. And so the times that we've had those conversations, say, look, your child's going to be okay. You can see in their faces that they feel much, much better about it. And then they usually say, okay, well, let's go ahead and stop the case or something like that. So that's helped us a couple of times.
After you tell them that, they don't even know that's an option until you tell them like that. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Mark was bringing out his inner Zolke.
Is it inner Zolke? Yeah, that's for sure.
That's where he's coming from, for those of you who may know. But,
yeah. Well, I go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say to Nathan, I don't know. I mean, in my experience, I think that for those that are presenting the fee, if they can't afford it, then it's going to be hard for them to be believable when
Yeah.
they're presented. And how you find that out, yeah, that's more difficult, but that's kind of what I found. The other thing is, if I've had a family, second child, and there's been no issues with the first one, then I'll go out for however long they want.
Yep.
It's history.
That's-
So
well, I mean,
that's what I would do if need be, with no issues in previous. Now things could change, but you're taking the odds are in your favor, I think.
Basically got a credit check already.
well, but I think like what Jeff Hines was talking about, as long as you guys aren't making the decision on, like, again, I nor anybody want you to take zero down. That's not the point. The point is that you can't become so transactional where you can't see beyond just this individual and how much money you've got to make off of them. That's really the point. And like, if you're making your decisions, like with Jeff, like if he took, 10 no down payment starts as an example and 8 screwed them, then yeah, no brainer, stop doing it. Right. But if 9 paid fine, this is what a lot of you in the industry, not really you guys, but a lot in the industry do, is that what happens is you take 10 no down payments as an example, 9 pay fine, but you remember the one that screwed you, and then you create all your payment plans around that one. That's when it becomes a problem. And that's a major issue in this industry when you go around, is they, storytellers about, this lady screwed me or whatever, but everybody else paid fine. And the other thing you got to watch, and OrthoFi teaches this, and this is something I ran with my plastic surgery practices, is a 98, 99% collection rate is not good. And what I mean by that is any bank that has a collection rank that high, what they would say is we're not taking on enough risk. Like you are letting starts walk out of your office left and right if your collection rate is that high. So you want to take on more risk. It doesn't mean you want to collect at 70%, but there's a balance. Like 88% of 200 starts is a lot better than 99% of, 80 starts, is an example. So you've got to watch that. So if you take on more risk, you are going to get more starts, but you're also going to get, just like any bank, you're going to get people screw you. But as long as the additional starts, and the people who pay fine far outset the ones that screw you, it's a good move. It's a good move. You're going to get referrals from those people, et cetera, et cetera. On the clinical thing, this was our 5th customer, whatever of all time, back in Pasadena, Texas, in his office. He was actually, Eric, I don't know if you remember this, but this is, I don't know if I ever even told you this story, but John Garza was his name. He was a GP, and Rob, who a lot of you've met, he was the one that created the platform that we use. That was his dentist. Well, John Garza was with us for years, and he has now committed suicide, and he starved himself to death. It was a really sad story. But he was such a bad clinician that his own team wouldn't let him touch him. And what happened, he was in trouble with the board all the time. And one day we're having this training in his office. We're all sitting there, and this girl, I can't remember her name, she was late. And all of a sudden, 30 minutes into the meeting, she walks in, she's in tears and she's in pain. She broke her tooth. She's crying, blah, blah, blah. And John's like, all right, let me work on it. She would not let him touch her. So if your team, views you either as, not a good clinician, or you're nickel and diming things, this is where I haven't done it, but it's on the list on, part of the culture you may not have thought about is, if your TC, and this is where I'm going with the question on, I think Nathan is one you brought up. If your TC is constantly, and your whole team is constantly seeing you investing in the best clinical care, best clinical technologies, the best supplies in order to give the customer the best of the best, you are not going to have that TC problem. As long as you are training her and role playing with her, right, and putting her in the right positions, that clinical culture of excellence will eventually wear off in a good way on everybody. But if you're finite minded and you're nickel and diming supplies, or you're making clinical decisions to save money and sacrifice the best clinical care for the patient, you're going to have that problem with the TC. Like you're creating a culture of, I don't think this is worth it because my clinician, you know, isn't going the extra mile clinically for the patient. So that's just something. I don't think any of you are like that, but they definitely exist in this industry, in the GP world, and certainly in the plastic surgery world. That was something, you know, back when we were scaling and growing. One of the things I told our chief clinical officer, really that her job, all it was to report back to me that the best clinical care was being provided to the patients, and whatever best clinical things we needed, she always had the green light. It was like, you invest in the best. I don't give a crap if it costs us money. If I take home less, I don't give a shit. Get the best possible things for the patient. And culturally, it just exploded throughout the organizations that everyone was so happy that the company was constantly investing in the best care. And I think as long as you're doing that, the whole team is going to go the extra mile for you, including the TC. And I don't think you're going to have that issue.
Yeah, you set the stage for everything else in your practice.
Here's the question. If their team wouldn't let him work on them, what was Rob doing going to him?
Well, and I've never done this.
That's the big question.
because I'm afraid to, because I don't know if Jane was his wife, you know, I never know who's going to be listening to it, but this is why, and I think all of you, but some of the newer faces, you know, maybe haven't heard quite as much repetition on this, is that this is the perfect example. The first year we worked with John Garza, we grew that guy $400,000. That is not easy with a GP, right? And he was a crappy clinician, and we grew him that much. And it just goes to show you, people don't know what they don't know, right? Like if he didn't hurt somebody, and they don't know if the clinical supplies are shit, they don't know. And it's the same way in orthodontics. Like they cannot tell whether you're great, average, or you suck. Like they can't, but they can tell all the other things. And he is a perfect example. And Rob didn't know. And once I talked to him, Rob was like, all right, I'm out of there. He switched. He actually went to Robert Stewart, who was our first customer ever with New Patient Group, who was actually under the highway on the same street down the street. So that's where he ended up going. But that's a perfect example. Like John was in trouble with the board all the time. His team wouldn't let him touch him. And that guy made so much money, it was ridiculous. And you just always have to remember that is that the business will defeat the practice every time. But if you combine the two together, that's how you're famous. You know, I mean, you think about all the famous companies, Ritz-Carlton's not famous for the hotel rooms. They're famous for everything else. Right. So it's the same thing. Great food, great experience, famous restaurant. And that's what you always have to be remembering and reminding your team too, of all that stuff. And
somewhat on that topic, have you guys, anybody found a good TC chair that doesn't have a clinical feel but still functional? So like the best I've got is just a Void 90-degree fold back. I mean, I'm gonna scan every single patient what my TC is, and I will use the iTero for simulation and everything. I do still look clinically, you know, for like 30 seconds just to make sure I didn't miss something like some recession or whatever. So the chair needs to lean back 45 degrees basically. That's all I needed to do. But I haven't found anything that else that looks like it will work well.
I'm going to show you an example of this really quick. If I can't find it, I'll text it to you.
Okay.
Because remember, you know, one of the things that Align is really big on now, and many of you have heard me say this in your office, is that when you're scanning, you don't want them laying down flat. You want them at this angle. Oh, here it is right here. And a lot of TCs are still scanning with people laying down, but the mandibular changes. So if you guys see this, you see that chair. So this is an example of what I'll talk about, you know, these outdated TC rooms where you've got this massive flat screen in your waiting room, and then you've got an itsy bitsy screen in the TC room. That's a lot of practices. Like, why would you put a massive screen there, move it into your sales room? And then this is kind of the new modern look of what I so try to convince people to make their exam rooms look and feel like make it immersive. But if you see that chair right there, if you get something like that, that's got that slope back, this is kind of what Drew Ferris, and this is also kind of what John Graham. This is kind of what they look like. Drew's is more of a table with chairs around it. John looks more like what you're seeing. It's not, but it looks more like what you're seeing here. And that chair, you can still do an exam in. That's a perfect angle to scan, and there's that immersive feel that you're really looking for.
That's
in
the
there.
type of chair. That's exactly the type of chair I'm looking at. Okay. So even though it's a clinical chair, but because it's not like a fixed, like true clinical chair, it still works for basically giving a more relaxed feel to the room versus, having
Yes.
like a bay chair in there. Okay.
Well, again, go again.
Are you talking about the chair in the nice room? The
Yeah,
one
and
to the right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks
Not
for
the
bringing
one
that.
in the
You're
blue.
talking about the normal chair.
Hi,
Okay.
Kim.
Hi. I'm sorry. I'm just
Hey,
listening.
I'm so excited you're here. Hello.
Oh,
If,
yeah. No, I'm
uh,
just, so the one in the gray room, not the blue room, right?
I'm
Correct.
glad you
The
mentioned that.
one
I'm
on the
looking at
right
the
that
normal
looks.
one. I'm like, that's exactly what okay. So you're talking about the chair with like
I'm talking about the
basically
one on the
living room chair.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your goal, and some of you do this, you may, or it's harder. Your goal is to make as much of your practice not look like a practice as possible. Right. And it
Exactly.
goes back because Rob, like we just, talked about John Garza and such a bad clinician. And if you walked into his office, it was much more immersive. Right. So this is, as they get opinion 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, you just got to remember all of those opinions, they're going to look pretty similar. You don't want to look similar. Like, this is how you stand out and help sell your uniqueness. White, smartboard monitor, which, by the way, the iTero has built into it. If you want to use it, all you have to do is take a screenshot. The screenshot button on the iTero will turn it into a smartboard. Just FYI, you can draw on it and do everything you want on it. Just FYI. But yeah, so that one on the right, all of you should strive to have a look and feel in the exam room like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious if other people have recommendations. Nathan, I'm in the same boat. I'm about to purchase a chair for my scan room. But the problem with like the chair in the nice room that was on that picture is like the quality of the fabric and your ability to wipe. Like if you wipe that thing repeatedly, it's going to disintegrate on you. So like you're going to trade off, like anytime you go outside of the dental world, you're trading off the functionality of it and the cleansability of it.
For Chicago, we found a cool chair at a store called Relax Your Back. And it's has a remote that's attached to it that electronically will let you recline it a little bit. And it's a fabric, like what would you call it? A pseudo leather?
Yeah.
That is cavi wipeable.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's set up.
Will you post that? You can
Yeah.
post it to our non-existent Facebook group if you need to.
Let me,
Well, now that she knows Slack exists,
yeah,
able to
hold
get one in
on,
there.
hold on a minute and I'll see what I can do. It wasn't cheap, but it's really cool. And
Dental
the
chairs aren't
patient-
cheap either, so.
The patients say it's like uber comfortable.
I'm on that website right now.
This,
Not the massage chairs.
yeah.
Oh, nice. Look at
Okay.
Mark
So
Olson. What are you showing?
yeah, this was one of my TC rooms and Billings. I had
Nice.
3 of my
Yeah,
good-
that's nice.
So I'm going to tell you the good and the bad. Okay. I was going for just something that didn't feel like a dental office feel at all. And that part was successful. We didn't have a table for people to sign things on. That was problematic. We did things with clipboards and stuff, didn't like that. So I do think that having a higher table for people to sign documents on is a good thing. But if you look in the corner there, that's an Eames chair. Okay, it's an Eames lounge. You'll see there's a footstool next to it. I used to sit on that footstool. That's where I'd sit. But that Eames chair, people could sit in there when they, and kids, whatever adults, so you could just lean back into that, and it put them in a great position to be able to look in their mouth and do stuff. It doesn't go up and down. So here's the thing. If you're going to scan and you're really tall, you're not going to like that. But if you're having your TC scan and a lot of women are, 5'5", 5'6", in that area, it's not a bad chair. And the nice thing is it rotates.
How do I do this?
So that's maybe something you guys might want to go down to somewhere that sells an Eames chair. You can just sit in it and see, but it worked really, really well. And it doesn't
Now-
feel like a down chair.
I'm going to see if I can show you. I don't know how you're showing that.
I just put it right to my camera and just hold still and it'll focus. And now you're so close you can't see it.
Pull it back just a little bit, Regina. Just you have to leave it there for a minute. Let it possibly. There you go. It's getting better. Pull it back a little bit more. Right
there. Now just hold it.
It should refocus here in a second. Can't move it though.
Yeah. Let me see if I can figure out.
No, it's still. What you might be able to do is if you just put that in Slack, it'll let you upload that photo if you want to put it in there.
Or you can text it to me and I'll post it.
Okay. Can I emailed it to myself here. Can I share my screen?
Well, if you want, just text me. Hey, Regina, just text me that photo and I'll put it in Slack for you.
That'll be that's a big review of what that chair looks like.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So you just move. It's really comfortable. It spins around, but again, it doesn't go up and down. So it's going to, but it keeps people down. So you might have to bend over, but if you're not there for a while, that might be an option that might be doable for you guys. So
Where did you get that chair
three of them.
from?
I just bought it from furniture. I was just in a furniture store and I found it and it's like, wow, this is exactly what I was looking for. So worked good. And it comes in different colors, leathers and stuff like that. You'll see it in different shows, TV shows and stuff. So
Regina, I'm going to show it. Hold on a sec.
I liked it so much when I sold my practice there, I pulled 2 of them with me.
Right, downloads and
But it comes in all kinds of different colors.
It's working well for scanning and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but again, we take their bite and stuff with them sitting up, like Brian was talking about.
Yeah, I think standing up anyway, like just tip them back 20 degrees and you're good to go. Outside
Well, that's something it's just all of you can run by. It's something every time I come into one of your offices, whoever's scanning, I bring it up to, but I get time and time again where people are being scanned laying flat. And that just listening, I love listening to just, the faculty with Align or just being around a lot of you and learning about some of this stuff. But you're just going to get a more accurate scan on the bite if they're more upright, which all of you know more than me, but it's just a simple little tweak in how most people scan.
Brian, you're trying to post Regina's thing?
Yeah, I'm going to post it. I was trying to share it on my screen, but for some reason it's having I don't know what's going on with my Mac. It's not letting me do it, but I'm going to put it I'm putting it in the general, so everybody can see it. I'm putting it in the general section right now.
Hey, Regina, if you can come up with the name of that, I'd love to check it
Yeah,
out.
it may have to wait till I'm there Friday because the paperwork's at the office, but
Is it called the Perfect Chair?
I don't remember. Do you remember what it was called?
There you go. I just posted it, everybody. See, that's a perfect example of, and everyone's gonna, want their own color and look, but it's a perfect example of making, I know it's a switch because like with Kirk last time I was at Specs, Adam and I, we yanked out those clinical chairs and threw them away, and we went and got these 2 little modern chairs that were sitting back in a corner that no one used. So those 2 modern chairs are now in both of the exam rooms, and it's an adjustment, huh, man?
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Regina, when you're back there, if you'll let us, I mean, I'm curious to know the chair,
There
but
it
also
is.
like the couch chairs. Those look cool.
Yeah. It's just such a different, it's just such a different feel, man.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and see the mirror?
Mm-hmm.
You can screencast the before and after smile is a computer behind that shines through.
No shit.
It sounds cool. It sounds cool, but it's glary. So we're working on trying to perfect that. And one of the things we might end up doing is just removing the mirror and having a vertical TV or a vertical monitor there so that they can look directly at their before and after and things like that in front of them. This weekend, one of the things I'm going to play with this mirror is seeing if I can take that image as a screenshot and adjust the brightness and see if it's easier to see. But right now, directly screencasting it from the Invisalign site doesn't give me a bright enough image that it isn't a little glary.
What's your take on the psychology of like the aspect of like my TC room or the way it's set up? I think the TC is gonna kind of be off to the side of the patient, so the patient be looking out, and not necessarily we're all looking in the same direction. So the TC is not really part of the conversation. They're kind of over here, which is good because they can be working on stuff while talking. But do you have any of y'all have any issues with that? Like that the TC, someone made that comment and I was like, well, they're going to be getting the contract ready while I'm talking to the patient.
Yeah.
Have the patients like staring at them the whole time.
Well, with this one, they're kind of like, while you're talking about their smile and showing them stuff, they're kind of looking at the mirror area.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it. It's cool. Definitely. If please send the couch, like the chair and the other, like the seating for like whoever else comes in the TC room. That's cool. I think that's a good look.
Regina, will you check the chat? I put a link in there and see if to you first, and then I can post it publicly.
What can I do now? The chair. Okay.
I just posted in our monthly meeting right below the link.
What do I do?
Link back to that shows a video of what one of my TC rooms look like in Billings. And you guys click on it, you can kind of see just how.
Oh, there it is. Brian's put it in the general.
In general. Mark, where did you say you put yours?
I put it under the monthly meeting. So right under where you had your link to join this meeting, then you'll see a post I had on there. If you click on that, that'll give you a inside view of it, and you can rotate it around to see how the whole room laid out and what that looked like.
That's nice.
Beautiful.
That's not the room.
That would be a big TC room.
That's kind of my main lobby room. That was, but there
Wow.
should have been another. Keep going around there. You're trying to walk through the whole place. But I thought I just clicked on it. When I clicked on it on mine, it took me right to the TC room. If you go down that hallway right there.
Oh,
there you go.
How did I get out?
There you go. That one right there. Now you can take a look at what that room looked like. So there was my Eames chair there, a place for people to sit. TC sat over to the left here in that chair. And then as you keep going around, you'll see the monitor on the wall. That's what so they were looking right at it. And that's kind of how that whole thing. So,
Well, see, that's a very similar concept.
yeah.
Love it. Yeah, it is. Well, see,
Build
this
that
is how-
door, Mark.
What's that?
You build that door.
I did. I did. Yeah, build them all. No, I didn't. I had a good friend that
He
did
probably
that.
built the whole office.
Yeah.
Man, this is what I, not just in our monthly sessions, just what you guys are doing now. I just want to see this in Slack throughout the days, weeks, months, and years. Like this is tremendous help for people that are building their practice or trying to redesign it, reimagine it. I mean, this is really good stuff. I mean, it obviously looks different. And then what Regina pulled up with the i10, now Mark, he's got the Trios, which is
Right.
a great scanner in its own right, but making sure all of you are just using the bejesus out of that scanner in your exam room and the features and being comfortable with it. And sometimes you have to get uncomfortable getting away from the photos and x-rays and getting comfortable, with being comfortable with the iTero. And it just makes such a huge difference in that immersive feel.
Yeah,
in
we're not
exam room.
taking intraoral photos at all in Chicago. With that 3 extraoral and the scan.
Wide smile photo with like iPad or something.
Just an iPhone. The wide smile, and then
Front desk,
the
Nathan.
the profile, and then the frontal no smile and a smile. So I guess 4 extraorals and the scan.
And that the goal, really what the vision of this concierge model and getting the phones non-distracted and out of there is those pictures ideally, Nathan, are taken by the concierge up front. And it creates and Regina would tell you this and others, it creates a conversation immediately with mom, things like, why are you taking that? Like the other practice didn't do it. And you can get into an engagement of what that wild smile photo is. And mom, let's get yours too. Right. And all of that proactive can happen before it even hits the exam room, in the TC, having to do the dual start. Now the concierge is involved with it. And it's impactful, but your people have got to have the time. The office has got to be set up right. And I think a lot of you, if you're not using the wide smile, I mean, the wide smile photo kind of sucks, but it's a cool technology that just is a neat experience for people to see.
At least through Invisalign, pretty soon it's going to be a video that you have them talking and turning their head and smiling, and then they're going to do that with their new teeth. It's pretty cool.
It is cool. I think they were showing it 2 AAOs ago at their booth.
Yeah.
Matt Miller and a couple of guys, they brought me over there, and it's really amazing. But see, you've got to be ready for this tech, right? You've got to have time to take it and everything. But
well, here's the hiccup with it so far. It works 99% of the time for adults when you have a permanent dentition. But you get a kid that's got a couple of missing teeth here and there, and if you don't catch that and make those adjustments in the what do you call it? The simulations software before you create that, it comes out really weird.
Yeah, because it misnumbers the teeth, right?
Yes,
like it doesn't
and
know
it
how to number the
closes
teeth.
it closes all the spaces, right? So it might put a kid in an underbite or all kinds of crazy stuff.
Do all of you know? I know some of you do, but all of you know what she's taught, how you can renumber the teeth before the smile simulation? Because a lot of times the smile simulation will be jacked up because it has the tooth numbers mislabeled.
I remember saying that. I used that. Well, I used the outcome adjustment today. A patient asked, like, are my teeth going to have that little space there? And I was like, no, we'll fix that. Boop, boop, move the tooth. He was like, cool, awesome.
There you go. That adjust outcomes, the most powerful sales tool all of you have in your exam. That thing is a game changer.
How much better is that new one? I actually just met with my Invisalign rep today to probably go back to Invisalign. And of course, one of the things he was showing was the new scanner and talking about eliminating
the wand is smaller for a little bit easier on the patient. And it's a wider field of capture of the picture. So it's quick, really quick. The software itself, I think it gives a more detailed, more photo realistic picture. But that other software for the simulation is still based on adult software, and you still have to change those things if you're doing them on mixed dentition kids. But it still allows you to put a thumb, what do you call it?
Thumbnail.
A mouse on it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there's a
Good
little,
talking about
there's
that.
a USB thing in the back that you can plug the little mouse USB in there, and so it's really
Don't
easy
like
to
using a touch
renumber the teeth and stuff. I don't do it with
Okay.
my finger, I do it with a mouse, but you can do it with your finger too.
Okay.
And that
Thank you.
mouse, by the way, and I know not everyone's going to see value in this, but I do in certain situations. But the fact that you can turn the iTero into a smartboard feature and draw on it, if you choose to do the mouse, you can now draw on it, you know, sitting 10 feet away, as an example, because the mouse will still let you draw on the screen. So,
And
I
my
find it good.
my one TC is a 30-year-old male that likes video games, and he lets the kids play with the mouse and
Yep.
circle their teeth, or oh dude, you need a little more space here. Here, click yourself some more space in there. It just builds a relationship, you know?
Yep. That's where I think too that mouse can come in handy. I think it's easier to draw on it and then do what you just said and let them play with it. Like I know my kids would think it'd be cool. You know, it's a good way to build rapport with them.
They look at that scanner as a little bot, you know?
You have
And
it named. I know a lot of you have the iTero name somebody. Like you've given it a name.
yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah.
Yeah. I know Walt does, boss. They all have a nickname for it. Kind of. What's Matt laughing at over there? I think Eric Howard just sent him something. They're talking they're talking secrets over there. Yep.
I
knew it.
just got the neck cut from Tom, so we got to get ready for bed.
Yeah, I'm driving to Aspen tomorrow, taking a trip. So I'm gonna. This was awesome. Like the engagement was good. I think the topic, I want you to really take to heart how you're leading the organization on mutuality, the cognitive training, and then how you view this group, as well, and all these different ways, the boot camps, all the stuff. You know, be a part of them, and just keep getting better. Cool.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you all.
Have a good night, y'all.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.